Have you been trying to figure out if HubSpot Enterprise Hub is a right fit for your company? Then make sure you watch this entire playlist dedicated to answering that exact question. In this specific video, we're going to talk about multi-touch revenue attribution with our friend from HubSpot, Nicholas Holland. If you don't know Nicholas Holland, the GM, Marketing Hub, and VP of Product for HubSpot, and he is super passionate about the success of companies like yours and what they can get the ROI out of using the HubSpot tools. Now, with that said, let's get into the good stuff. Are you a HubSpot user looking for fun and interactive education that helps you be better at HubSpot? Then welcome to Sprocket Talk. That's right, I'm your boy George B. Thomas from SprocketTalk.com, bringing you yet another HubSpot educational video. If you, yes you, are a sales, marketing, or service professional looking to learn more about HubSpot and inbound strategies to help your business grow, then guess what? You're in the right spot. Now, recently I got a chance to sit down with Nicholas Holland and ask him a ton of questions around HubSpot Enterprise. Now, one of those questions was about multi-touch revenue attribution, and this is exactly what he had to say.
When you think about marketing in general, what I tend to like to boil things down to the most simplistic form. It helps me keep things simple. By and large, marketers are there to create gravity towards a business. The way I always describe marketing and sales is that, imagine if you had a table with a lip around it and you dumped a bunch of marbles onto the table. They would just roll around chaotic. And that effectively is how the market is today. And if you just had a sales team, every sales rep you had on the team, you might drill a hole into the table. So you got a 3-person sales team, you'd drill 3 holes in the table, and then the marbles would roll around. And every once in a while, one would fall through the hole. That's roughly how a sales strategy works for most small businesses. And if they're good, they might basically make the holes a little bit larger. That would be a good salesperson. Or they might go hire more salespeople. That'd be drilling more holes. But it's quite frenetic and chaotic. When you have marketing and it's really dialed in, imagine now you're able to bend the sides of the table. All the marbles would roll down to one spot where you then have your holes in a line ready to go. That is a beautiful way to visualize how a company should be going. Bigger holes, better salespeople, more holes, scale your sales team, and the more the sides of the table bend up, the faster the marbles roll down there and get ready to go through there. So when you think about bending those sides and creating that, HubSpot's done that for years in terms of creating content and being a leader in content marketing, doing things like ads, social media. That's basically bending the sides to create more of that gravity. The issue is that marketers, by and large, though, were only able to really get credit for that based off activities. So one of the ways that listeners can judge the maturity of their marketing organization is if you're atoning for what you do by saying the number of blog posts that you've written, the number of social posts you've put out. That is probably the baseline maturity of marketing performance. You're talking about activities, not outcomes, not results. You need a lot of tools to get those done. At the end of the day, you've got to do the tactics, and you do need to show somebody, your boss or if your department, if you're basically doing an inter-department meeting, you got to show them that you did stuff. And that's just human nature. They want to know, like, what did I get for my money? And you got my time. Then you move up in order of maturity, and you want to see results. And results traditionally for HubSpot came in the way of these insights. You would want to know how many people received my email. That's deliverability. How many people opened it. That's how engaged it was. How many people clicked on something. That's why you kind of know that, like, people talk about, well, I got 95% deliverability. I got 20% to open it. I got 2% click. We all kind of know those as marketing numbers. And that's really where we have existed for 10 years. When you get to the highest level of sophistication, and that's hard, by the way, for many marketers to even dial that in, to be able to have a very clear walkthrough of all of the results of their tactics, activities, that's very hard. And so that's where many pro customers are. They're still trying to dial in all the different marketing activities that they do. What are the results of those? Then you take it to the next level of maturity, and people want to know, did I drive revenue? In sales, it's very clear. It is effectively the marble went through the hole. So the moment that the marble goes through the hole, You see how much that marble is worth, and then the salesperson gets credit for it. What's frustrating, though, for many marketers is that here you are, you basically are bending the sides more and more. Marbles are rolling down faster and faster, feeding the sales team. And no matter how fast you roll those marbles down, the sales team is getting all the credit for the revenue because it's only traditionally able to measure when it goes to the hole. I tend to think that's not fair for a couple of reasons, because when you get marketing dialed in, it is a massive accelerator to the business. And many of the small companies and mature companies, they're hesitant to do marketing because they always ask, and we know this as people practitioners and agencies, you'll always have the leader or the owner say, show me the ROI. What they're really asking for is, I spent $100,000 on my marketing budget. Did I get $100,000+ back? And that has been very difficult because you have to tie all of the activities that you do back to revenue. And what that requires at a systems level is that you have to have revenue in the system somewhere, and you have to have all of your marketing activities somewhere. You have to combine those together. And if you go back to traditional systems, HubSpot or some of the competitors that are out there, they don't have revenue. They don't have it tied into the system. And boy, is it hard to do that. One, the marketer doesn't always have the decision or input on where the CRM is. And the CRM is where effectively salespeople are putting the deals. Even crazier, this is something for the listeners to learn, is that, by the way, the CRM is not the source of truth for revenue either. It's actually the accounting system. I'll tell you a funny thing we've learned when we've been working with customers is, they'll close a $100,000 deal, a $10,000 deal or whatever. And there are times where that deal falls apart after it's been closed. The person's credit card bounces, the delivery of the work is shoddy, and so somebody asks for a 50% discount. We all know that. Getting as close to the revenue is really critical for the marketer to actually know how much they influence revenue. So with HubSpot over the last few years, as we've been thinking about dealing with these more sophisticated customers, we realize that many of them have their activities dialed in. They have a smooth operating marketing machine, and they are in lockstep with their sales team. And so because they have access to kind of that first line of revenue book, the CRM, they want to start knowing what of their activities led to that. They want credit for their work. And I care deeply about marketers. I think about them all the time. I used to be one. I had an agency full of one. And I know there's nothing more frustrating than pouring your body, blood, sweat, tears into helping a company grow and not getting credit for it or being questioned on your ROI. So we started working on this. And what multi-touch attribution is that, marketers, we know it takes a series of things to close a deal or to win business. You start off with very unfocused, high top of the funnel type things that include ads, that include mixers. And some people, unfortunately, are still buying lists. Like, that's very, very unclean top of the funnel stuff. And then you're trying to essentially create a more and more intent that goes into that. Well, when you do that, you are you're email nurturing them. You are potentially showing them ads along the way. You have ways that some people are now delivering content over Messenger or other channels that people are in. And these people that you're nurturing are effectively building up an affinity towards your brand, all the stuff that we know when we do inbound marketing. But when they finally do close, what you want to know is what content drove the most business. You want to know what activities are actually working. And even as you get even more sophisticated, you want to know what activities drove the best type of customers. And best type might be the ones who close the biggest type of deals. Maybe your most profitable product is this particular premium one. You want to know what those people are interested in. You also work on campaigns, and you want to say, okay, this kind of bundling, this focus, this kind of myriad of activities I did under this kind of singular campaign, whether it's a quarterly campaign or you're pushing a particular product. You want to know, which campaigns were most effective and drove the most revenue. You want to know which channels drove the most revenue. Is it Bing? I mean, I hear that all the time. It's crazy. Like, people say, oh my God, I cannot fathom that I'm making so much money from this non-hyper competitive channel like Bing. I'm amazed that I had no idea that Twitter actually is yielding revenue for this particular type of customer. These are things that are just very difficult for us to do as marketers without data, because we're humans. We sit in the same thing. We know, oh my God, everybody uses Google. Nobody uses Bing. But that's not true. We say, oh my God, like I don't use Twitter. It must be Facebook, but that's not true. People, the channels that we're in are hyper diversifying. So knowing which ones work is that do that. And then at the end of the day too, the marketers want to know as a group, let's say you have a 3-body marketing team, they want to know as a group, I'm doing this stuff throughout the whole year. How is my team doing as a group? I've got a specialist who does long form content. I've got a specialist who does SEO. Is that working? Like as a team, how are we doing? So those are all the problems that we started off wanting to solve. And that all comes down to do that comes down to multi-touch attribution. And ironically, there's not a lot of great vendors in the market. Visible is one who's well known. They were tackling this problem. They were bought by Marketo. And today, if you wanted to do multi-touch attribution, and let's say you picked a Marketo or something like that, you would still need to buy Visible. They're not integrated, and it's an extra cost over Marketo. But when you get into like the actual platforms themselves, like you picked HubSpot, you would like to not leave HubSpot if possible, and you would love all the data to be seamlessly there together. Like that's surprisingly difficult. So it took us about 2 years when it comes down to making sure we had the data, we could tie out the touch points, we could deliver a in-app seamless reporting experience. That's where we got to. So multi-touch attribution is something that we do right now. We have different models, which we can talk about in a minute if you want to, because it's like with all things in life. When we talked about enterprise being sophisticated, there's just complexity after complexity that you can get into this stuff. But it has 5 attribution models, and it's pretty exciting where we're going next with it is, this is all the marketers stuff that they do right now, but we actually want to take it to the next level, which is where you can actually start to do attribution of offline events as well. So the holiday party, the print piece you put into the mail, if you send a gift, each year there's always that interesting marketing battle of, do we send out gift cards, Christmas cards? Some companies, do we send out gift baskets? My wife got a Bluetooth speaker from her law firm. This is always interesting. I don't have it here, but she got a really nice Bluetooth speaker from the law firm that she spends the most money with. She's a in-house counsel. And the year before, they sent her Bluetooth headphones. And the year before that, it was Alexa. Like, is that working? That's the type of stuff that we want to start tracking next as well, the offline stuff. So right now, there are 6 models that we have in HubSpot. The one we do not have right now, just for those following, is like there are people who are already wanting to do custom attribution models. And I'll start there, which means that every business is unique. Every business has certain needs. And there are companies now that are sophisticated enough where they want to define how the business associates revenue with different activities. And we don't have that yet. What we did is we picked the first 6 that we believe that when we work with customers cover 80 or 90% of those. So one model that's pretty straightforward is first interaction. So if you think about all the marketing activities that you do, there is a point, whether it's on the contact timeline or if you're just thinking about it, where you know that was the first time the business came into contact with that customer. So let's assume that they first came in via a form on your website. You would essentially say that the very first thing that you give credit to is the homepage of the website. They came to the homepage from source SEO, and you would start to know that I'm going to give all of the credit in the revenue attribution model to that first interaction. But we also know that nobody buys like that. So there are people who also want the last interaction, which means I've nurtured this person for a year, and the thing that finally got them over the hump was this particular ad or this particular email. That's what they want. So you've got first interaction, last interaction. You also have what we call a linear path. Linear path says, I'm just going to take the revenue, take the number of touch points that exist, and I'm going to divide it out across there. So if it takes 30 times to close a $300 deal, I'm going to put $10 on every interaction that goes across that. And that's a very simplistic way of looking at it as well. And what's really cool about HubSpot is that these models, you've got the data, so you can just drop in, choose a model, and it'll show you how it looks. So you can say every interaction is worth $10. There are other people though who believe that certain things are worth more than others. They kind of understand the cycle that their customer is going through, and so they want to do things like a U-shaped is one that you'll see in there. And so it gives, it attributes 40% of their deal revenue. And so all of this is tied to deals. So the first thing I just want to be clear for the customers is that whether you're working with Salesforce or you're working with HubSpot CRM, you need to have the deal data available to HubSpot to be able to do this. But U-shaped attributes 40% of the deal revenue to the first interaction. So, we got this person from Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, attributes the first 40% of the deal revenue credits to the first interaction, and then it attributes the other 40% to what converted the lead. So let's say this person looked at an ad, came to your site, clicked around on a bunch of pages, didn't do anything else, and then let's say later they came to a piece of content and converted on an offer to download some sort of calculator. It would give 40% of the revenue to the first interaction, so it would be a LinkedIn post, and then it would give 40% of the interaction to the form that converted over here, the blog post that converted on that, and then it would take the remaining 20% and spread the credits out. And that model, what it essentially says is like, I really want to give a lot of credit to our our acquisition efforts. I really want to give a lot of credit to the high quality content that is finally getting somebody to formally raise their hand. And then I know that the myriad of other things that we do matter. It's just less. And the reason why I'm telling you about these models, and of course you've got let me just start there. You've got a W shape, which is first interaction, the lead conversion event, and then what led to the deal creation. So that's a different shape there, is that basically even when someone becomes a lead, you have a whole bunch of marketing that happens after that for months. And then basically they interact with something before they work with sales and become a deal. So you do the W interaction to basically say, I want to give a lot of credit to the front. I want to give a lot of credit to a high quality piece that let them make themselves known. And then I want to give a lot of credit to whatever was the last thing that they did before they actually became a deal. And then I want to spread out the remaining 10% to everything else. So you can start to see as you go through these, and these are all described inside of HubSpot, that this really gets down philosophically to how the marketer feels about it. And they know, as a marketer what you're doing. Are you putting out a lot of batch and blast, crappy first touch stuff, but then you are really working to figure out who's interested, and then you really, really take care of those? That might be one where you're doing something like last interaction. If you know that you're putting out a lot of high quality content to attract them, but then you're really putting out a lot of high quality to get the lead conversion, you might do a U-shaped event there. And then if you know that it takes a long time to nurture people, they don't buy very close to when they become a lead, there's a long path between there. This is like ABM models and things like that. Then of course that might be W. So anyways, that's why you do that. And what it allows you to do in all of this is go then start to look at the individual pieces of content, ads, and tactics, and you start to see which ones are worth more. And so to take this home, you have a really high piece of content that sales typically sends out as an enablement piece before they close a deal. That piece of content, a blog article, a web page, a specific web page, is something that you've operationalized so that your sales team sends it out. And they do that repetitively. And whenever they are closing deals, you can start to see how valuable that piece of content is. Because as the deals close, and that's the last touch, or that is the part of your W shape or whatever, you can start to see that ultimately is helping close deals. And the marketers are doing that. The marketers have made a very high quality piece that the sales team is using. On the reverse, if you want to go a different path, which is people knock around on our website all the time, but the calculator that we have on there, my God, when people use that calculator and they want to see the results of the calculator, that is what's generating all of our leads. And so we have customers who do that. They have really nice site. They then basically have some sort of calculator or gated content offer, and someone has to effectively fill that out and or register to get that. That is a very valuable piece, because maybe the sales happens nearly immediately after that. The sales team gets the lead, they call them up. How can I help you, George? George says, oh my God, I saw your awesome analysis of my property, and I just can't wait to sell my property with you, or something like that. Or I can't wait to buy this piece of software after you showed me how much money I would save if I just used you. And that's one where the lead conversion, whatever basically gets someone to identify themselves from anonymous to known, becomes paid. So anyways, that should help you out. So again, first interaction, last interaction, linear across all of them. U-shaped, that's the first touch, and then what made a lead. W-shaped, that's basically first touch, what made the lead, and then what happened right before you close the sale. And then full path. Full path basically just does 22.5% credit across kind of all 5 of those things. It's first interaction, lead creation, deal creation, last interaction, and then basically attributes the 10% across all of that. And it really just gives you different models to go through and think about how you're investing your marketing dollars, where you're weighting stuff, and start to see if that's working. And then it starts to basically attribute that revenue to individual pieces in your marketing stuff. So you can then start to see which pieces of content are working, which email campaigns are working, which global campaigns, whether it's a quarterly push, are doing better.
Multi-touch revenue attribution. Is it something that could help your business grow better, or at least test and see how it is growing or what's making it grow? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, then it just might be time to check out HubSpot Enterprise for your company's sales, marketing, and service needs. Stick around for the next video where we talk about ABM, or account-based marketing, and the exciting updates inside of HubSpot Enterprise. Did you like this video? Then head over to SprocketTalk.com for more actionable and tactical HubSpot user videos, tools, and other resources. Make sure you subscribe as well for those instant notifications, and so that we know that you're part of the Sprocket Talk community. Until next time, make sure you're focused on being a happy, helpful, humble human. And as always, make sure you're doing some happy HubSpotting.